Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the poor lighting. Again, my ring light's broken and I'm cheap and I don't want to buy another one just yet. And it's early in the morning, so it's still dark. And I got just enough light coming through my window. So here we are. How are you? That is a question that I ask many times a day when I'm at work, especially because I work in the public. And new client or a client comes in and I generally will ask, how are you? Um, that is something that we ask out of politeness. We a lot of times don't even expect someone to give us an honest answer. We expect them to say, I'm good, how are you? Sometimes you will get I'm okay, I'm all right, I'm kind of tired, I'm a little stressed. Sometimes. And another thing I've noticed about, and this is generally just with friends of mine, and the only reason I notice it is because I am guilty of it myself. Instead of answering the question, how are you? I will tell them what I'm doing, not how I am doing. And I recognize it in other people. And if I am brave enough or close enough to that person, I will say, hey, I didn't ask what you were doing, I asked how you were doing. But a few years ago, I discovered another question that will actually cut straight through the small talk and get right to what we really want to talk about because, excuse me, we don't like the small talk. And especially in relationships, close friendships, partners, and even our children, small talk is not really something we want to do or even care to do. We want to get right down to business, if we're having a conversation. Not all conversations have to be that way, but a lot of them, especially if you're asking someone how they are. We want them to be meaningful. We want to know that the people that we care for, we want to know how they are. So, a little bit of a backstory. Um, when my daughter was very, very sick prior to her diagnosis of Crohn's disease, um, she was sad a lot. Um, she was very tired, of course, and very, very ill. And it took a good year for her to get a diagnosis and for us to figure out what was going on with her medically and be able to treat her condition. And in that time, I checked in on her a lot, many times a day. And she brought it to my attention that I was only checking on her physical self. I wasn't checking on her emotional self. So I started using the phrase, how's your heart? And I have found that this phrase, unless you have a person that is really, really shut down emotionally or doesn't want to share with you for whatever reason, this phrase, how is your heart, will cut straight through all of the small talk. And I use this phrase with caution. I only use it with people that I really want to know, and there's some days that I'm emotionally overwhelmed and I wouldn't ask this question because maybe I wouldn't be able to handle the response. And so I do ask this question. I do start sometimes with, hi, how are you? And generally people will say good, as we know. But then, after a little bit in the conversation, I will ask, and how's your heart? Because, I know for me, I can say that I'm good and really superficially I am, when in fact sometimes my heart is anything but. But again, use this phrase with caution because a lot of times if you cut straight to that and it's a person that trusts you, you're going to hear all the things, or at least some things. And then if you choose to, you can delve deeper into that in caring for them. And when this, sometimes I even have been brave in some of my friendships when someone asks, how are you? They don't even ask me, how's your heart? But I will respond as if they did. Because really, when we love someone, that's what we want to know. And sometimes my answers are conflicted, like sometimes because I have intestinal disease, I live with chronic pain, which I'm used to it. So, still congested. I'm used to that pain. So I kind of forget about it. And I don't really think much of it. But if someone asks me, someone that I trust and I care about and has my best interest at heart, if they ask me, how are you? Are you feeling good? Are you whatever? I will respond like, I have physical pain today, but my heart is happy. My heart is peaceful. And there's other days that my heart is conflicted, or my heart is sad, or my heart is broken. And when you're building relationships with people, it is really important to be honest, as we know, because many times in the past I was guilty of one-sided relationships of my own doing. And my best friend Gwen, I would say probably for the first 3 or 4 years, geez, 3 or 4 years of our relationship, it was one-sided of my own doing. I was everything for her. I loved her, and I wanted the best for her, and I wanted to help her and support her and be her sister, but I did not allow her to love me. She tried, but I did not allow her to know what was going on with me. So I kept that relationship one-sided. And I am noticing, even relationships that I decided were no good for me because they sucked the life out of me, some of it was my own doing, because I chose to not share any of my own self with that person, even though they definitely wanted me to. But taking those walls down sometimes is a little bit terrifying. And I've noticed it can, when someone wants to be support and be a true friend to you without any conditions and without any really need for return, it can be a bit triggering. And I hate that word, but I'm recently discovering that it is a real thing, that triggering thing. So, yeah, I'm starting to just spin my wheels a little bit here. But what I was wanting to say is, there's one phrase that I have found to be very effective to cut through small talk if you are brave enough to do so with a certain person, and that is, how is your heart? I've had mixed results with it. Most of them good. Definitely not a question I ask every day, but it is one that I've used, and I'm thankful for my daughter for teaching me that. To not just ask about someone's physical being, but ask also about their self, So, yeah. Have a great day, guys. I appreciate you. I am headed to work. Live and love out of the way you were created.